Hello everyone, odedex here, welcome to Feed the Basics episode 1. In this episode I'm going to cover all the changes you can expect to see in your new playing experience with Feed the Beast. Specifically for this example I'm using the Darwolf 20 pack, but overall those changes should apply to every mod pack you can play in Feed the Beast, with minor differences probably. Okay, so create your new world. I'm gonna create mine, it's going to be Feed the Basics. So I can show you what's different. As always, the world creation is pretty much similar to whatever you can do normally. So just go ahead and create your world and let's start. So in this episode I'm going to cover mostly the changes you can expect, as I've said, to your actual gameplay experience, but not the gameplay itself. So here's what I mean. So just spawned in your world. This is a modded world as always, and the first change you're gonna notice is on your top right there is something which is not in vanilla Minecraft. That's a minimap. Nice to meet you. That mod is Ray's minimap. That mod specifically is in the Darwolf 20 pack. It might not be available in other packs, but it's one here, and it's a very useful tool. As you can see, it says your coordinates, what height you are, also with an integer number and also a floating number, so you can understand where you are in the world more precisely. That's kind of an easy replacement to the debug screen available at vanilla as well. And as you can see, I have a menu key, which I designed to be N, which can basically gives you a very large configuration options. So most simply, if you don't like your Rage minimap, simply disable the mod and you can play without it. There you go. If you don't like the minimap for some reason, personally I do, so I use it enabled. And as you can see, this is a very powerful tool because you can basically read your surroundings, and on top of that you can also create waypoints. So for example, if you decided that this is your favorite tree, what you can do is actually go to your menu and go to your waypoints, create a new waypoint, and create my favorite tree. And now that waypoint will forever be here until you obviously remove it or disable it. And it can tell, you can also see it on the minimap, you can see it in the world itself, and when you go really far away, and this is not a good example, but as you can see, it will always be visible. So that's kind of a useful tool to get around in the world. On top of that, you can also see you got key configs to change everything that you want. So for example, I could access my waypoints quickly with C. So let's do that. I can say I can create a new waypoint, and lastly I can just disable my waypoint if I want to. So that's Ray's minimap. That's one of the big differences in your new gameplay experience. The other big difference is whenever you open your inventory, you're gonna notice a very large difference. This is not enough items made by Chicken Bones. This will be probably your most useful mod, while still being the most, in my opinion, the most overlooked mod in most packs. I'm pretty certain that not enough items, or by short for NEI, is pretty much incorporated in every mod pack, in the Feed the Beast at least, while still being most of the time overlooked because it's not an actual gameplay changer, but it's such a big difference, it makes everything so much simpler to play. I'm gonna quickly explain shortly why. So, this is your new inventory space. If you're for some reason unhappy with it, by default hit your O button on your keyboard and that hides everything. Everything goes away. Hit it again to open the menu back up. So, what this user interface gives you. Let's start from top left to bottom right. So on the left you can see you got 9 new buttons right here. At the moment, actually let me go ahead and skip a little bit to the options menu. You know what? Okay, let's start with the options menu, actually, it will make more sense. So on the options menu, you've got a lot of different options you can do. To actually just make a good use of NEI, the only thing you're going to need pretty much is in your either global options or world options, what mode are you in? So at the moment I'm in cheat mode. Cheat mode is kind of what you would reference to be creative mode, pretty much. So in cheat mode, what I can do, and I can actually make use of those 9 buttons. So for example, if I'm gonna get some dirt in my inventory, And this is kind of a bad example because currently I only have 2 dirt, but I don't like having so much dirt in my inventory. I think 2 blocks is too much. What I can actually do is simply dump it on the trash can and simply get rid of items. This is a very quick way to empty your inventory, and also one more use of this is simply turning the trash can on and basically left clicking your inventory to get rid of items. This is an extremely useful tool. Pretty much you can already realize what you can use it for. You can turn on the rain and it will start raining. Of course, if you're in a snow biome, it will start snowing. And right click it again to turn it off. It will slightly fade away and gone. In addition, you can also, as you can see, when I right clicked it, the button becomes grayed out. What that means is you've got pretty much the entire weather disabled. No rain will begin and no rain will end. So you got no rain. You can turn on creative mode, vanilla creative mode, and also creative mode plus, which also gives you an access to your default NEI. You can turn on magnet mode, which actually is a very useful tool. If, for example, I have a couple of items laying around and I'm playing in creative, so I don't mind if I don't think it's imbalanced, so I don't care. But I want to collect everything quickly. What I can simply do is turn on magnet mode, and it pulls all nearby items relatively quickly to me. So that's kind of useful. You can also set the specific time of day. You got 4 different settings. Set to dawn, noon, dusk, and midnight. And similarly to the weather, you can also actually set your different time sets to be disabled. So for example, if I set it like this, noon will be permanently on. It will slightly go down to the horizon and then update back up to be noon again. This is very useful. And finally, healing the player. Well, you can already guess what this is doing. I don't think it's too complicated. There you go. Below that you got saves. Saves, again, one more very useful tool. If, for example, you like your inventory having 1 dirt here and 1 dirt here, what you can do is simply save that to slot number 1 and also delete that if you want to. And at any given point in time, when you get rid of your items, you can simply load that slot back again, and basically it reloads your inventory, including what you're wearing, including durability, including everything. This is extremely useful. Again, but this is one more tool that is only available at cheat mode, because obviously you can understand that playing survival with this is kind of unbalanced. Again, options. You can change global options or world options. Basically, global options are default. Any new world you will create will follow those rules. But you can do in world options, basically say that, okay, on this world, I want to be on recipe mode. I don't want to be in cheat mode, so this world will now follow the recipe mode rule and will ignore anything else. And now, let's go back to the recipe mode. This is how you would usually want to play as survival. Obviously, this makes more sense, because now you got the most powerful tool of all available to you, which is still balanced in my opinion, which is this tool right here. You've also got item subsets. I'm going to get to it momentarily. So what this gives you? NEI gives you basically, by default, as you can see right now, an access to all the items available in the game, pretty much, with some exceptions, but pretty much you can see everything. And even worse, you can see sometimes if you can see too much. For example, all those half blocks and side blocks and hollow blocks and those pillars are all additions by red power that can actually be disabled. I'm going to show you momentarily how. But as you can see, you got access to all the different blocks available at Minecraft. And just for example, as you can see right now, I have 56 pages, with each page about 8 blocks, lines, and I don't know, like 16 rows, a lot of different items. So what you can do is actually use your item subsets. And for example, let's say I'm only interested. Okay, let me actually just show you first the difference between vanilla Minecraft. Vanilla Minecraft has 5 pages. So this is kind of interesting. So what I've just did, by the way, is again a very powerful tool. When you go to item subsets, if you hold shift while mouse overing every different type of mod or anything else, pretty much it will filter out to only show those specific items. So for example, if I go to the mode category, there opens a lot of different other categories. Let's say I only want to see everything that's related to industrial craft. Industrial craft is again another mod. If I hold shift and left click, you can see it basically changes this text right here, which I'm also going to get to in a moment. This is again one more powerful tool. And every type of block or item or tool or weapon or whatever that's related to industrial craft will show up here. And this is, again, once more, a very powerful tool to use. The text right here can also be used manually. So for example, if I'm looking for dirt, I want to find dirt. I don't really know specifically dirt is the third block on the first page, but I don't know, I just got lost in one dirt. What I can simply do is type in dirt. I get every type of block which has dirt in its name. So that's include also dirty, because it includes dirt. But most importantly, I can now get dirt. Now, of course, left clicking on it won't do anything in recipe mode, but if I was in cheat mode, that will also let me pretty much, if I left click will give me 1 by default, if I right click will give me, left click will give me a stack, right click will give me 1 item. And if you really want to go fancy, you can also use the box right here and say each click gives you 100, so when you left click you get 100 of that specific block. That's again a very useful tool. And one more option, shift left clicking on the trash can to empty your inventory completely. Let's go back to recipe mode. So we got the filtering option, we got the item subsets options. Now, as I've said, let's say you don't really like having all those different red power half blocks visible. I think, in my opinion, it's useful to know they're there, but they're clogging your visual, I don't know, in my opinion, they clog the NEI interface too much. So what you can do is actually go to item subsets and go to mode. Find the red power mode, because this is what you're looking for. And you're looking for RP, I think you're looking for RP base. Yep, as you can see, it also opens on the left. If you again shift left click, you can see whatever you get from RP base, which is pretty much all those half blocks. So what you can do to filter those things out, apparently you can also get to that mode from here. It's not completely standardized, so for example, you get red power from here, you can also get red power from here. Overall, it's pretty much the same, but let's say I want to get rid of all the half blocks. Let's say I want to only see the cobblestone cover. So what I simply do is right click everything else, every type of other cover which is not cobblestone. And if I go down, it's kind of a long process. If I go down, or you know what, let's make it even simpler. If I simply right click blocks, you can now see that I will not, all the cover pages just disappeared from the filtering, because of the filtering, and now I only have 36 pages. Although now if I try to find a cover, it obviously will not appear with the filtering. It's a powerful tool if you want to get rid of some a little bit annoying repeatable blocks, just like red power in my opinion, but you need to know how to use it. So that's pretty much it. And finally, the most powerful tool you get from NEI, in my opinion, is whenever, let's say you find yourself a new block that you want to make. You want to make yourself a generator. Let's say you want to make yourself a geothermal generator. No, okay, let's go for a normal generator. That's awesome. You can see the rest. You can see the item right here, but how you create it. So this is one of the more powerful tools. Simply mouse overing your specific block and hitting R by default on your keyboard gives you the recipe. Now, as you can see, this is shaped IC2 crafting, and this is interesting to know. This is basically similar to normal crafting, but remember the fact that it's written like this, because this is important. So, for example, to create a generator, you can see there are actually two different recipes. One uses refined iron, one uses refined iron furnace and RE battery, and one uses a machine block, a furnace, and an RE battery. So once again, how do I get those items? Well, simply hit R again. And this is one of the more powerful tools when you're a new player, because this basically lets you explore the possibilities of all the different recipes and new items without being tied to a wiki page or anything like that. Simply inside the game, you can look up whatever you want to craft and craft it very conveniently. Now, obviously, let's say a lava bucket, it basically does have a recipe because it uses something else. It uses a machine, which I'm not going to get to this episode. As you can see, it says magma crucible. It's not crafting, but as you can see, obviously, there is no actual crafting grid recipe to lava bucket, so it doesn't exactly show. It shows other recipes. Once again, this might be a little bit confusing, but it shows recipes from other machines. So I think the best example would be if I look up, I want to try and come up with something that has no recipe. Okay, leaves. I don't think leaves have any recipes. Oh wait, they do. This is kind of the thing playing with Feed the Beast mod packs. It pretty much adds recipes to anything. Even this has a recipe. Okay. Okay, monster spawners have no recipe. So if you try to look up something which has no recipe, it will simply not going to do anything. So I hit R right now, it does nothing. But in addition to finding the recipes, you can also find the uses of items. So let's say you have a ton of cobblestone, but you don't know what to do with it. Simply hit U for uses, and it will load up all the different uses for cobblestone. So for example, for shaped crafting, I've got furnace, I've got stone stairs, I've got cobblestone wall, I've got a dispenser, and you can see it tells you the recipe just like that. This is shaped crafting. You can also see there is also shapeless crafting. Shapeless crafting doesn't care how it looks on the grid, but obviously it's usually different types of crafting. So shapeless crafting, for example, gives you, with equivalent exchange, gives you a medium stone recipe that uses 4 cobblestone. With the medium stone gives you flint. And it keeps going. For example, these are the smelting recipes. So if you can smelt it using cobblestone into stone. Microblocks recipe will use a hand saw and cobblestone into turn into slab, and basically it keeps going. You got all the different recipes using the different methods of crafting. So that's that. Okay, and now let's actually find another use for NEI. This will be a very NEI extensive guide because NEI is so powerful. Let's get actually a crafting bench. So let's get some. Let's speed this up by changing back to sheet mode. Let's get a crafting table and show you another powerful tool of the recipe mode. So for example, let's get some cobblestone. Let's say I want to craft myself a furnace. A normal furnace, I forgot how to craft it, let's craft it. So something you can do is actually, with your NEI open, hit R to get your recipe for a furnace. And as you can see, it also gives you this question mark. This question mark is actually very useful, so because if you have a complicated recipe, hitting a question mark while being open with a crafting table basically gives you this outline of blocks that you should craft, you should place in a specific order. So this is again one more very powerful tool when you're not very good with recipes and you keep forgetting. But even more powerful is when you open up, once again, open with the crafting grid. If you hit R again and shift left click on the question mark, it will actually distribute all your materials that can craft a specific item evenly on the grid. And again, it will actually make use of more complicated recipes. So let's come up with something even more complicated. Let's say a blue electric furnace requires iron ingot, blue alloy ingot, and clay. So if I get all of those items, let's get some iron, let's get some blue alloy ingot, and let's get some clay. As you can see, I've got a stack of each, and obviously I cannot make a stack of blue alloy furnaces because the item counts simply don't add up. But what it will do, it will evenly spread the materials to craft it. So this is pretty much it. I can craft 12 blue electric furnaces. I'm short on 1 clay to craft 1 more, but as you can see, distributed everything on the grid and make the crafting so much easier. Okay, so this is NEI. There are even more features. So for example, by default, if you hit F7 on your keyboard, you get this nice grid on the world. This might be a little bit unbalanced, similarly to, you might say similarly to the minimap, but again, this is up to you. This is personal preferences. In my opinion, this is fine. The grid basically shows you where monsters can spawn, pretty much. So this basically takes into consideration any artificial light, such as torches, basically any light that is not relying on the sun, and also when there is actual block space to spawn on. So for example, they cannot spawn on 1 block height under trees, so those blocks right here are not on the grid. But if I get, for example, some torches and place them in the world, you can see they will make some of the grid area disappear because this pretty much covers all the spawn area for monsters. So monsters can no longer spawn here. Okay, and actually even one more tool available to you is if you hit F10 by default, you can see you get those grid in the world, and this pretty much lets you see the chunks in the world. So this is, for example, this green grid I'm in right now pretty much closes in a chunk in the world. And with the moment I move to the left here, this is a new chunk. This is again one more powerful tool in conjunction with chunk loaders, but again, this is a whole nother episode and not this one. Alright, hopefully I covered everything I think I should have in regards to your new gameplay experience. This has been quite an extensive episode and quite a long episode. I hope you guys have not got bored by this. My plan for this series will be to make some episodes shorter. Pretty much a lot shorter even, because I want to make everything a lot more understandable in shorter periods of time. But I think NEI is a very extensive mode that should be covered thoroughly. So this is the reason why this episode was so long. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Please tell me your opinions in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time.